Dzień dobry wszystkim. Uh, Sadly, that's 50% of all the Polish I know. I'm trying to learn and get better. Thanks a lot for coming. My name is Syed, and I work at Spartez, as Edita said. Uh, Most people at Spartez work for Atlassian. Spartez is a very long-term Atlassian partner. We develop Jira Server and Data Center, which is Atlassian's biggest product, and also Bamboo, Fisheye, Crucible, which are DevOps products. And we do some work on Jira Cloud as well. So if you have used Jira, unless you are using a cloud solution, you are using something that was developed by us in Gdańsk. And I lead Jira Data Center. I lead a team of product managers who work on Jira Data Center. And we own strategy and product development for that. So I'd like to speak to you about how you grow as a product manager. And this is my view, and I've tried to synthesize as much I could from my experience working on product management for about 10 years now. Most people come to product management from many different areas. Some come from design, some from technology, and some from some other domains. Doesn't matter where you come to from product management. Let's talk about how, once you are in product management, how you typically grow. So this is one view. The titles might be different in different companies. So you will have to map them to whatever titles are used in your company. First, this is, we call it Associate Product Manager at Atlassian and Spartez. But some companies call it Junior Product Manager or Grad PM or something similar. But this is a phase where you are learning, you are picking up the tools of product management. And typically, you are working with a senior product manager who's mentoring you. And you might be responsible for a particular feature or analyzing some information, lots of data, and preparing that for others. And in some rare cases, you might be responsible for a full initiative. But the keyword for this phrase is learning, and you're focused on projects and products and things that the team is working on for today. While at this stage, you're typically not responsible for strategy or roadmaps, but you are a champion of your product strategy and roadmap towards the team that you are working with, your team of engineers or designers and other associated roles. Then after a while, typically transition to being a full product manager. At this time, your focus is, the keyword for you is doing. And you're focused on today's projects, but you're also, or not just projects, but initiatives and products, but your features. But you're also looking 3 to 6 months down the line, and you're thinking about what comes next. And you're working actively with the team, and you are already looked upon as a leader for the team that you're working on. And then when you transition to a senior product management role, again, the titles might be different in your context, but this is one embodiment of this framework. So you are mastering. You have had a couple of years in different, working on different products, and you have typically dealt with some early stage projects, and sometimes you have worked with more mature products. At this stage, you are working on strategy, and you are working on roadmaps, and you typically have a 6 to 12 month view of what's happening and what's coming next. And then finally, when you are at a principal product manager level, it's not about you anymore. It's about you leading a team, and it's about you inspiring other people, and it's about you mentoring other people, and you are more guiding and driving than actively developing. In many cases, you are probably responsible for one product or one large product, or often multiple products which fall within a similar domain. Typically working on more complex projects and products along with a team of product managers. So that's the general progression that we will look at today. But first, This is, I feel, the most important part of my presentation. These are questions that you can ask yourself. Product management is often defined very differently in different companies, in different contexts, and it's very fuzzy. If you ask me what you need to learn as an engineer, you typically see a set of skills that you need to acquire, frameworks you need to learn, programming languages you need to master. It's a lot more of a gray area with product management. So I think the questions, they sound simple, but these are questions as you go further in your journey as a product manager, things to ask yourself at every single point that will hopefully help you grow. First, what product management skills do I need to master? What exists out there? How different companies define product management? And product management is not just about writing user stories and epics. We have listened to a lot of really good presentations yesterday and today. And if you notice, each of those presentations talk about a different view of product management. So it's a broad area. So my biggest advice for you would be to map out those skills, try to make them concrete by writing them on, and do sort of like a performance review for yourself. And don't wait for your manager or somebody else to do that, but do it for your own use. Strong areas and weak areas. Is communication a strong area or weak area for you? How about working on the product management craft itself? How about writing user stories? Maybe market research is an area that you're not that good at, but because you come from, let's say, design, you're really good at understanding the design aspect of things. So focus on the weak areas, and that starts with mapping it out in the first place. If you do not map it out, then you get pushed in all kinds of different directions, and you might not have something concrete to work with. Role models. Again, because this is a fuzzy area, you can look for role models within the context that you're working in, the office that you're working in, or the company you're working in, or you can look broader. You can look to events such as this one, where you have an opportunity to work with mentors, etc. So look for mentors and role models. See people you admire, people you think are successful in this particular role that you're working towards, and try to ask yourself, what's the difference between what I do and what this other person is doing, and just go do that, and try to get better at those aspects. Then lastly, how can I broaden my horizons and experience? I've worked with a lot of product managers, probably dozens of them, and the best ones, in my opinion, are the ones who have as broad an experience as possible. So many of them have typically worked in different domains. As I said, some come from design, technology, project management, it doesn't matter. But what we are typically thinking about, or the best product managers typically have what we call a T-shaped experience. So if you imagine, a T-shape, and if you look at the vertical line in the T, it means you are good at something. You come from a domain where you have mastered a particular area, so you have deep experience in something. But you cannot be a specialist, in my opinion. I know some people might not agree with that, but apart from being a specialist in a particular domain, you also need to have the horizontal line of T, which means you know a little bit about design, you know some technology, you know some project management, and you have a broad experience. And this just doesn't stop at domains. It's also about the particular, even if you take product management itself, there are so many different types of product management. There is technical product management, there are product owners, and also early stage products, which require a completely different focus from how you would deal with a mature product. In my case, it is currently Jira, which is a 16-year-old product. So try, especially when you are at an associate product manager or a product manager level, try to work on as many different products as you can, and try to work with as many different people as you can. The more experience you have, trust me, the better a product manager you will be. So, Let's talk about a few key skills. I wanted to make it as concrete as possible because a lot of times we talk about product management skills in the abstract. Unfortunately, this is as like you will probably still think this is abstract, but I tried to be as concrete as possible. So if you remember the first question I asked, it's about what is the skill set that I'm targeting and which areas I want to grow in. Hopefully this will help answer that question. The first one is to lead and inspire. As a product manager, as many people have said, and it's part of product management lore, that you are the CEO of the product, as some people have called it, but you do not have people actually reporting to you unless you are managing product managers. So yeah, the engineering people that you work with, the design people you work with, the marketing people you work with, they're probably almost certainly not reporting to you, but you are still a leader in the team, and as a product manager, you are setting the direction for what the team is going to work on. So it's a very important leadership role, and this goes beyond management. This is, as a product manager, you have to lead the team, and you have to inspire, and you have to get everybody on board without formal authority. A few things go into that. First is vision and strategy, of course. Probably the most important thing we do as product managers. And there are a couple of keywords here. When you are starting out, then you are the champion of the vision and strategy. Most likely somebody else has defined it, probably somebody more senior to you in product management, or you have been handed down the vision and strategy, and you're championing it, and you are speaking to the team constantly and getting everybody to understand that. It happens very often that as a product manager, you probably know what the vision and strategy is, but if you ask somebody working in the engineering team, unless they are able to articulate the strategy and vision and do a good job at it, you probably have not done a good job as a product manager. Next is when you grow beyond an associate or grad PM role, when you are not a beginner in product management, but when you are actually a product manager, then you are influencing the strategy. You are probably working with somebody, whoever is working on vision and strategy, somebody more senior to you, and you are influencing it, and you are making sure that your input is there. At the next level, you are contributing to it actively, and you are part of the team that is actually developing the vision and strategy. And then at the most senior level, you are responsible for creating the strategy and vision, and you own it. And you are typically working with a team of product managers doing that. So this sort of shows that right from the beginning, right from day one, you are involved in vision and strategy, and it's not something that is purely handed down from somebody on the top. But this is something that you have a business to involve yourself in. Then working with the team. So at first you typically end up in a team. It's either a new team or a team that has been around for a while. And typically we are talking about teams which are not functionally under the same team. So you have a bunch of engineers who are probably part of the same, reporting to the same manager, and they have been a cohesive team. But then you also have one or more designers. Then you have some marketing people who are probably in some completely different part of your organization. Could be in another office as well. So how do you get these disparate people from different teams and different backgrounds, and how do you get them to work as a single team on your product, on the thing that you are trying to get them to work with? First of all, it's about winning the confidence of the team. So the team knows that you are, or gets the impression that you know what you're talking about. And then it's about rallying the team around a cause. So everybody, once they have, when they are aligned on vision and strategy, they are bought in. They have bought into it as much as you have, hopefully. And then it's about analyzing problems and making recommendations. So this is part of leading and inspiring as well, because you are often using, or not all often, but always using some data and some insights that help you work with the team and help you inspire them. Decision making. This is if you ask me what is the key difference between product managers and or what is the most important thing for a product manager, and as compared to many other roles, I would say it is decision making. Absolutely. As a product manager, you are doing that multiple times a day, and I don't know, maybe half my time is spent just on looking at making decisions. And what is not good, of course, is to any problems with decision making is something you have to work towards and get better at that. And you get better at that by learning from people who who you think take good decisions, and working on your own decision making process. First, you're setting up everything that requires, if you are working on some key decisions, you are collecting the data and presenting it to somebody else who might take the decision. But then you're driving a decision, and finally you are in a position where you are making key decisions yourself. This is something that can be learned, and really important for product managers. Mentoring and coaching and leading by example is another key thing. As you grow, you are often working with people who might need your help in understanding, who you might need to guide through different things that they are having trouble with, and dealing with ambiguity and complexity. So we talk about data-driven decisions a lot of times, but a lot of times in the real world, data is not clear, it's ambiguous. And having the ability to take decisions, even when faced with ambiguity and complexity, it's really, really important. And you are basically developing the heuristics in your head, some patterns that you have learned from, that you can draw from your experience, you can draw from, like better sparring techniques and working with people. It's very easy to be fearful when you have a big decision to make and the data is not clear and there is ambiguity. But this is something that can absolutely again be learned. That's something you can learn. And delegating effectively. You cannot do everything. If you're working on a product that has any level of complexity, this is something that you have to learn. You cannot take all of the design decisions. You cannot take the technology decisions. You cannot take many other decisions. So learning to first recognize who is best placed to make a decision or do a particular piece of work, that's important. And then also to give set proper targets for whoever you are delegating to, and that's another key part of leading and inspiring. And by delegating effectively, you are also establishing yourself as a leader, because people feel more empowered. You are not telling them what to do, but you are actually giving them the power to do something the way they feel it should be done. So that's leading and inspiring. Now, product management craft mastery. This is table stakes. These are things that some key things that we need to do as product managers. These are very concrete, I believe. Things like writing user stories and all of those, you need to be able to do that. You might not be doing that when you are at a principal level or even as a senior product manager. But this is something you have to be able to do. So what goes under that? Just a word about this slide. So I've tried to divide them into basics, beyond basics, and then when you achieve a level of mastery, what happens? I speak to a lot of product managers. I interview a lot of them, and I've spoken to, I don't know, 100, 200, 300 over the last couple of years. The biggest problem I see in most potential product managers who I interview is this is what they think product management is all about. And there is a lot of focus on this aspect, while people forget there are many other aspects. We are talking about leading and inspiring, and I will speak about a couple of things in the next few slides as well. So this is important. This is really table stakes, but you need to look beyond that, and that is the biggest, one of the most important recommendations I would have to anybody who's looking to build a career in product management. So first is competitor analysis. How do you make data-backed decisions and trade-offs between things that are competing for your attention, writing user stories and epics and understanding them, and what makes a good one, what doesn't make a good user story and epic. There's a lot of information out there. Most product management blogs and books are focus on this aspect of product management. Beyond the basics, you're working on complicated roadmaps. There are 10 different work streams that need to happen, 10 different initiatives that all go into a particular release of a product, and how do you align them? There's a bit of product management, project management and project thinking there. I'm using the word project very loosely. I know project is not a very cool word nowadays to use, but however you do your planning, I would probably work streams is a better word. So how do you align all of these things together? You're not a project manager as a product manager, but you still need to be aware of these things and be able to do it if needed. And again, building a roadmap based on that. Process improvements. Let's say you have a particular software development methodology, or you are using some kind of agile at scale methodology. You need to understand that, and you need to understand how it actually works in practice in your environment, and what improvements can be made to make us make your teams faster and more efficient. Long-term planning and some kind of domain knowledge. And then slowly, over a couple of years, once you have worked on many different products and many different areas of product management, you are talking about thought leadership, being an influencer, and expert-level product acumen. This is talking about, again, the fuzzy aspects of product management. This is a situation where you have data. You have lots of data, but you do not have the time either to spend like 2 weeks on analyzing some piece of data, but then you go on towards prioritizing what's important and what's not, and you learn to deal with ambiguity, and this is very experienced and instinct based. Voice of the customer. So talk to customers regularly. I probably speak to at least one large customer a week, typically an enterprise which has tens of thousands of users. So I don't always stick to that schedule, but I try to do that as often as possible. If you're not talking to your customers, of course, it depends on what kind of product you have as well. So that will help determine what kind of customers you speak to, and what your focus is, on your in your vision and strategy. But whatever or whoever your customer is, identify them, speak to them regularly, figure out what they want. And again, another aspect of this is the research aspect of it. The more organized way of doing customer research, competitive research, and market research. There was a really good talk yesterday by Mr. Pete Sinclair, if I remember correctly, who was talking about roadmaps and how market research is really important. And a lot of times, many product managers depend on somebody else for that, and they have probably not developed their skills in this area well. And I fully agree with him that this is, in many cases, a lost opportunity. And as product managers, we need to become better at that. So learning some formal quantitative and qualitative methods to do this kind of research. Then lastly, this is about mindset, building, measuring, and then learning from it. So you build something, you ship a feature, that's not the end of it. Or you ship a product, and that's not the end of it. In all likelihood, you are going to keep doing that. You are going to keep delivering more features, and you are going to keep improving on a particular feature that you have, or initiative. Feature I'm using, again, in quotes, very loosely, that you are delivering. And this iterative mindset can only work in action if you are measuring the results and you're setting proper success criteria for whatever you have shipped. Seeing, has this been successful according to that? if not, learning from that and taking decisions whether you need to invest more into that, into improving that feature, or it's good enough. So this is about mindset. So big enough, most companies, unless you are a startup with a very new product, you typically have a bunch of different products, or it could be a single product, but one of them could be, a non-enterprise product, and another embodiment of that could target enterprises. But whatever situation you are in, you're talking about a portfolio, and there is a company strategy, which is something, and then you have a product strategy, and you have your product goals. What is the link between your company strategy and product goals? And if your product goals are not addressing the company strategy, is it really worth doing that product? So these are questions to ask, and drawing a link between that. Any product manager should be able to draw the connection between that, know the product goals and also know the company goals, and most importantly, be able to explain how these product goals align with the company goals. This is something to focus on. Quite often it happens that when you are a relatively new product manager, you might know your product goals very well, but maybe not focus that much on the company goals. It's really important. Know how your company is doing out there in the market. Know what other products from your company. You might not be working on those. It doesn't matter, but you have to know what the goals for those products are and what is the company working towards. And then marketing and PR. As a product manager, you are typically not doing marketing and PR yourself, but you are a part of that effort. You might work with product marketing managers or more traditional marketing managers, and also PR when you have a big release or releasing statements about your products and working on the overall strategy for PR and marketing. So hopefully that was a good overview of the PM craft. As I said, these are table stakes. These are things that every product manager, you have to be good at this. Let's talk about another aspect, delivering outcomes. So when I was a new product manager, my expectation was that I would write a few user stories, build a roadmap, and come back 3 months later and things would be done. Unfortunately, we all know how that goes, and your work as a product manager does not stop at that. It's about delivering outcomes. Ultimately, it's about when the rubber meets the road, what happens at that point? Are you actually delivering or not? The best plans are useless. Of course, I don't need to say this, but the best plans are useless unless they lead to some tangible results. Tangible results could be revenue, or could be something else. Depends on the type of product you're working with, or it could be as simple as delivering the next release or the particular thing feature you're working on to market. Smart prioritization of work is key. We prioritize features, we prioritize user stories, we prioritize, blah. It doesn't matter what you call it, but work items, however you have chosen to define it in your environment. But it often happens that, not just often, but it always happens when the team is actually working on it. What your backlog looks like in Jira or whichever other tool you are using. I hope it's Jira. But sorry, I couldn't resist that. But so the difference between your backlog and the difference between how your team is actually working, that is something you have to watch all the time. And almost every day you will be asked to make decisions about the scope and the timelines, and looking at what the team's capacity is. So the plan that you imagined when you created the backlog, not just might, but will not match the reality. So this is prioritization we learn to do as product managers, and we need to continue doing it beyond the backlog when you're actually talking to people and when you're looking at how they are working. Goals and metrics. If you do not know what the success criteria for your product or for whatever thing you're working on, initiative, feature, etc., then you might not as well work on it because that's in a way burning money. Your team will not know where to go. You will not know where to go. You will not know where to stop. And a very important aspect again for product management, for product managers, is knowing how the levels of investment that you are making. For a particular initiative, you cannot decide whether what you're investing is right or not, or if you have succeeded if you do not set proper goals and metrics for the work that you're doing. Now, I use the word MVP here because most people understand it, and minimum viable product, but most people understand it in very different ways. This is about balancing the investment that you're making in the product, in that particular thing that you're working on, feature or initiative, and balancing that with the customer value. You do not want to build a monument which will stand for the next 200 years. Probably, if you're working on a product, you want to build something that satisfies a customer need, a real market need, and does that with the minimum possible investment. You do not want to, this is not Baroque art, and you want to minimize your investment, but it doesn't mean you are cutting corners. It doesn't mean you are sacrificing quality. It doesn't mean you are delivering, somebody wants a car and you give them a car with like 3 wheels. It has to be a functional, something that actually solves that need, but you want to do it with the minimum possible investment. So this is something that you learn over a period of time, and probably making a few mistakes along the way, but it's quite important to know this because we have limited resources, limited people to work on things. Helping unblock the team. You will have lots of conversations with dev managers, design managers, and so on, and with the rest of the leadership which is working on a product team. And you might not be the one who's tasked with unblocking a team by yourself, but you definitely need to be part of the discussions. You are targeting something to be done by the end of next month, but we realize that with the current capacity, it's like 3 months of work. So then we are talking about trade-offs when it comes to scope. Can you break it down so you deliver version 1 now and then later you work on version 2? Can we compromise on the timelines a little bit, extend the release date, etc.? These are conversations which shouldn't happen with a product manager. Quite often it's engineering managers taking this decision. I do not believe that is the right way. I think it has to be more collaborative, and it has to be the leadership working together, and product managers should be part of, not just should, but must be part of this decision, in my opinion. Balancing different things that once you have a product that you're working on, it doesn't matter which stage it is at. It can be an early stage product, something that is completely new technology that you're working with from the ground up, or it can be a really mature product which has been around for 20 years. You will have an endless stream of things to work on. And they are bug fixes. The engineering team wants to work on some engineering initiatives. Then you have things that will delight customers. So is that a must-have, or is that something that is a should-have or a nice-to-have? And then you have metric movers. You have certain success criteria, and you think doing a particular feature, you are almost convinced that is going to move this metric. So you, once you divide the work items that you are working on, those will fall into these different buckets, and then balancing those. How much do you invest in each of these areas? This is something that is often a problem for many product managers, and not just product managers. If you're working in any kind of leadership role in a product development team, you will be faced with this. So this is a key skill that you need to learn. And again, decision making makes an appearance once again. This is so important that I just had to write it twice. So decision making and decision making under ambiguity. You can, if you can, there are 3 paths that you can go with that I can think of now. with a decision, it's either yes, it's no, or you decide to defer a decision. But you are explicitly deciding that you will take a decision later. That's acceptable. What's not acceptable is not taking a decision and delaying it without explaining the reasons to everybody around you. So if there is one thing you take away from this presentation, I would like it to be, or I would ask you to make it the importance of decision making and ambiguity and complexity. Communicating effectively. This is important. Well, it goes without saying for any kind of leadership role, and for product management, it starts from day one. Even if if you do not think of yourself as being in a leadership role, you're still, this is a key thing for you. Sparring. I'm not sure how widely this word is used, but this is about discussing ideas and challenging others' ideas. So quite often when you are relatively new, it might end up you might not look forward to it because you're not comfortable challenging other people or telling other people that you disagree or that you're wrong. But this is the art of criticizing ideas and not people. So you have to become comfortable at that, and this is something that you will end up doing every day as a product manager. Building relationships after decision making. In my opinion, the second most important thing that product managers need to do. So it doesn't matter if you're working with somebody or if you're not working with somebody on a particular product. But it goes without saying that you have to be best friends with your team. But even beyond that, how about people who are, let's say, in like IT or operations or some other part of the organization that you do not work with now, but I guarantee that a lot of people that you did not even imagine you would work with 6 months ago, you will probably be working with them like today. So build relationships. Do not let any opportunity go to network with people that you work with or people in your outer circle even. Influence and persuasion, compelling stories, selling ideas, pitching. This is what we are doing, aren't we? So whenever you have a team of slightly skeptical engineers and designers and so on. So how do you get them to buy into whatever you are pitching and whatever you are trying to get everybody to do? This is also about leading and inspiring. This could be a part of thought to be a part of that. Then clear, concise communication. Your words matter a lot when you are. It's not a. You're not. Programming, you're typically speaking to or conveying ideas to people, and you are assigning work to people in a way by creating a backlog by the power of your word. So be very clear about how you write and how you speak to people, how you speak to your team. And customize your communication style to suit the audience. I wouldn't use the same language to speak to an engineer that I used to speak to a salesperson. Find out what's important for them. Find out what their role is about and what their key motivators are. What are they trying to do? Are they trying to solve a problem, a technical problem, and trying to figure out how to deliver what you have just asked them to do? Or are they trying to sell more and they are looking more for arguments on why how your product is better? Or not very good examples, but this is something that it should be a point of focus. Okay, last slide. This was my first slide, and hopefully with this this gives you a clear picture of what you need to do at different stages in your career, in my opinion. And as a associate or grad PM, you're working on drawing insights from data. You're typically analyzing a lot of information and preparing the data. So that would be the keyword, and you're learning. Keyword, like learning is your keyword. As a product manager, you're making decisions and you are delivering. And you are responsible for a chunky piece of work. And the keyword here is doing. As a senior product manager, you're typically building vision and strategy. And the keyword here is you're mastering those skills. And at the principal level, you are inspiring and mentoring. It's not about you anymore. It's about the other people that you work with. It's about the other product managers that you are working with. Questions? Oh. Thanks a lot, everyone.